Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we're going to be reviewing Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, a series that I heard about, wasn't too interested in, but I was slightly curious and wanted to give it a shot. So yeah, let's just hop right into this. So, a story summary of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Basically, a lady gets drunk and ends up finding a dragon in a forest and ends up inviting that dragon to live at her house, and the dragon becomes her maid. And after that, it's just kind of like a slice of life show where each episode some random stuff happens. You either meet a new dragon or you go and do something random, and it's a lot of fun. But I'm just gonna have to explain what my true thoughts are for this show to the best of my abilities. So yeah, on to what I like. Some things I liked. Well, I thought the characters were, for the most part, pretty charming in this show. I didn't love every single character, but I really liked a lot of them, which is something that's important in a show. You have to like the characters in the story. For one, while I definitely don't care for the main dragon called Toru, I find the characters like the character Kana or Miss Kobayashi, or like Miss Kobayashi's the main character. If you couldn't figure that out, but I hope you could. If you couldn't, then I'm sorry if you couldn't. I hope you now know. But I find most of the characters, other than Toru, pretty interesting. If you don't know, I mostly just don't like Toru. I find her very annoying. I really don't care for Toru. Even though she's the main dragon maid, I don't care about her. I never have. I hate her for the now, hate's a strong word. I dislike her. I find her character to be annoying and overly just something that exists in the story. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't belong in the story. I find her and Miss Kobayashi's dynamic to be a very entertaining thing. But that's only due to the fact that she's all energetic and bubbly, while Miss Kobayashi's more calm and collected, while only freaking out when necessary. But I do find Miss Kobayashi's maid obsession to be hilarious. All in all, though, this show definitely has a lot of things I like, but in terms of dislike, as I mentioned before, I'm not a fan of Toru. Really don't care for her character, and if she existed, if she didn't exist and was replaced by someone else, I wouldn't really notice. I wouldn't miss her, but I don't hate her character, and I'm fine with her being there. I just don't really know how to feel about her. But I like most of the characters. For one, I find one of the friends who's basically an otaku at home, but a normal work person at work, is a really interesting character. I mean, the show does something that I always complain about in shows led by mainly female characters with almost no male characters, where they actually do have male characters in it that are actually pretty funny on their own. Usually the shows will mainly focus on female characters without giving any male characters attention, and I don't like shows that do either. I don't like shows that only focus on male characters or shows that only focus on female characters. I hate when they only do the one gender, and it irritates me. But this show actually balances it out pretty well. While it's mainly a female cast, they do have some male characters, and the male characters are amazing. I find both them and the female characters, everyone for the most part is charming and fun to be around, and I always have such a good time watching them. While I can't say I absolutely love the show, as I do spend a lot of time, and we're already in spoiler-free thoughts, but while I do have a good time for the most part, I'm not going to deny that there are times where I just pull up my Nintendo Switch and go shiny hunting in Pokemon while I watched, because I watched this dub, so I didn't have to keep looking back at the screen to read it, but I didn't really think of it as anything too amazing. But I guess we'll just talk about in the spoiler section about some things that bothered me and what didn't. So yeah, here's a timestamp to when the spoilers are over, but if you have seen Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, this is only season 1, but if you have seen it, I'd recommend sticking around to hear what I have to say about season 1, since I'll cover season 2 in its own video when it's finished. But yeah, unless it's already finished, the dub's not finished, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, anyway, I'm just gonna count down from 5 now, so let's begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so in the spoiler section, back to what I find funny and not so funny. I do find the reason I find the dynamic of I was about to say Kobayashi for some reason, Miss Kobayashi and Toru, the reason I find them as fun duo, despite the fact not liking Toru, is definitely the reactions. For one, Toru is always trying to feed Miss Kobayashi her tail because she knows that once you remove the poison, it's actually pretty tasty. But Miss Kobayashi's always just like, I'm not gonna do this, and it's always just such a funny dynamic between the two characters, and I always have such a fun time seeing them both on screen. But if if both aren't on screen with one another, it's similar to a certain magical index where if I don't see Misaka and Toma on screen together, then it's not very entertaining. Just with one without the other just does not make the show very fun to watch. I feel like if both of them weren't in it, it would definitely ruin the whole show dynamic, and I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. So, yeah, going back to the male characters of the group, one's an otaku and the other is like this really destructive dragon who just wants to kill everything. And because he learns that he could do that kind of stuff, since the dragon wants to destroy stuff, he learns that he can do that stuff in a video game. It's always so fun seeing how the fact that he went from being a shut-in dragon who's willing to murder stuff if necessary to just being a shut-in otaku who plays video games all day. That was so funny, and I honestly really enjoy a lot of the cast. There's also this little boy character who thinks one of the dragons is a demon, which is really funny, but I didn't really think of it as funny, but it was still pretty funny. And I do enjoy the dynamic, especially since it seems like each dragon gets their own character. Like almost every dragon besides like one of the dragons, every dragon has someone they live with and hang out with, which I really like because you get to see more characters and more ideas, and you just see all these really fun concepts that get thrown in there, especially with the introduction of the fact that maids are something that are apparently commonplace in the Kobayashi world, since, you know, Miss Kobayashi has a maid obsession, and it's just really funny seeing how things play out in everyday life for these slice of life scenarios. I definitely find that there are some parts that are way more annoying, like, not annoying, but way less of an interest for me. Like, the final episodes. In the final, like, episode or two, I'm not sure if it was in both or just the one episode, but Toru's dad, I believe, or someone comes over to try to bring her back, only for her to fight them, which the fight scene looked amazing. But for a slice of life show, it felt a little off. I've never really been into the action for Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I've always found the comedy worked better there. It's like The Devil's a Part-Timer, where the action works, but it doesn't really fit right towards the comedy-based situations. And I'd rather just see them in these comedy situations than I would something super dramatic, since it seems like every single comedy or slice of life stuff always has to end on some big dramatic note, like, oh no, someone's moving but they're not moving, or oh no, somebody got a bad grade but oh, they didn't get a bad grade. And it's just this really annoying thing where they always have to end every show with some big, like, huge ending. And that's why I prefer the ones that don't do that, because they're way more fun and they just let you end the show on a fun note without making you feel like you have to deal with more than you can chew. But this one was one of those ones that decided to pull the, oh, we're gonna pull some big thing last minute type scenario, and I didn't really like that. Wasn't terrible, but really didn't care. Well, I do think that Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid does have a lot of really awesome fight scenes. I just find them being mixed in with the comedy to be annoying. I just didn't like them, like the idea of where they put them. If the show was just all comedy, I'd probably like it a lot more. It's just like you do both genres. You have to do one or the other, and if it doesn't do one or the other and tries to combine both, it can work, but sometimes it won't. This is one of those cases where for me it didn't, but I'm sure for other people it probably did. It just depends on your tastes. But yeah, we're at the conclusion now, and in my full thoughts, this show's decent. It's definitely more of a, like, turn on your Nintendo Switch or your DS, start shiny hunting some Pokemon, and just listen to it in the background or watch it in the background type of shows. Dubbed probably, since sub you kind of have to read the text, but unless you're in Japanese, then you don't have to worry about that. But I definitely feel like it's a show that isn't the most phenomenal thing I've watched, but it's fine. It's a decent show. I liked it, but I didn't love it. That's why I probably haven't taken much interest in trying to watch the second season that much, because I just don't really care. But it's a fine show. I don't love it, don't hate it. It's fine. And I realized I thought a lot of anime are fine recently, but to be fair, I do watch a lot of anime, so I find a lot of things differently. But yeah, that's all I can really say for this. Well, that's why I probably have to rate this anime a 7 out of 10. I did like a lot of the comedy, but the action scenes were somewhat fine, but didn't really fit right for me. But I thought this was a fine anime, and I would recommend it to at least one watch. So yeah, that's all I can really say. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I try to upload anime reviews almost weekly, unless I don't feel like it, but I try to keep up a weekly schedule. And hopefully you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all around. Peace!